in here, I'm asking another question. Tell us about, how did you wind up in the military, and then how did you wind up with a broadcasting career?
So I wound up in the military because I needed to go to college, and I actually wanted to go to Boston University, which was a great school for broadcasting, and just wasn't smart enough or didn't look good enough on paper to get a full ride. And the partial ride that they gave me wasn't enough because I couldn't split the difference. So I ended up paying to go to a school that had offered me a full ride, which is the best thing that could happen to your 18-year-old self because it teaches you some really humbling and awesome lessons. And I met someone when I was there who was in the military. So I was going to night school, working a job, and I met someone who the Air Force was paying for his college degree. And I had never paid attention. When the recruiters came, I'd taken the ASVAB, but it was to get extra credit. But when he told me that he had this great job and he was doing very well and the military had paid for his career, and I was like, wow. And he was like, yeah, well, they have regular jobs and you just go do those, and you're serving your country and you're doing all these great things. I was like, well, do they have broadcasters? Because I mean, that was my thing. I wanted to do television. And he said, they do. But and remember, we're in this, small town in Tennessee. And he says, but you have to live overseas. And I was so struck by that. I closed my book. My professor was still talking. I was like, I've got somewhere to be. In my mind, I looked as cool as Elle Woods from Legally Blonde, but probably it wasn't like that. And I drove to the recruiter's office, and it would have been this really like killer moment, except for the recruiter's office was closed. So I had to go the next day. But I ended up auditioning to be a broadcaster through the recruiter, who said, nobody does that, nobody becomes that, you never get approved for it. And I was like, great, so this is consistent with the rest of my life. Yes, we're doing it anyway, let's go for it. And it took me 2 tries because I failed my first audition, but on the second one I got in, and then was very fortunate because I got some great experience early on, and then I wanted to anchor Air Force Television News, which you normally couldn't do until you'd been in about 15 or more years, because you had to have this certain presence because it aired worldwide and you got to interview the president or the Secretary of Defense. But I was very fortunate because I got to do it at 25 years old, so I was one of the youngest people to ever anchor the show.